Hey everybody, welcome to Microcurrent with me, the Lift series. And you can see we're kind of warming up with the Anma. And God, we love blood flow. We don't think enough about blood flow. And basically, it's the nutrition to the cells. It brings oxygen, it brings nutrients, it's everything. And so breathing properly increases blood flow. Releasing fascia increases blood flow to areas. And you've heard me talk a little bit about, the success of microcurrent is dependent upon so many other components. I mean, microcurrent works. It's proven scientifically, but it's something that we have to go in and we have to have blood flow and circulation and hydration and a good diet, because what we're feeding are the cells the ability to do what the cells do best. But if the cells don't have great nutrition or good hydration, we can only optimize that cell so much. So when you are doing microcurrent and you're not getting the results that maybe your neighbor's getting, you really need to start looking into what does my lifestyle suggest or impede about the success. So just as we kind of warm up the area using the Anma and the scalp, this morning when I got up, I did the block therapy and really released a lot of the fascia underneath my arms and in my rib cage. And when we get that full capacity in releasing the arms and even the décolleté, we're opening up all of the blood flow to the face and even the hair, so we can still have nice hair post menopause. You just kind of warm up, go in these areas, and sometimes I'll do the Anma on people and they get all discombobulated because it hurts. They're like, well, this hurts. Well, sometimes we want to seek the pain, because the pain, assuming it isn't a shooting, stabbing kind of depleting pain, but sometimes a pain is a suggestion that an area needs a little attention. So while you're doing the Anma, seek out some of the pain, kind of going over that scalp, finding those tender areas. And you can lighten your pressure, but just kind of warm up all of this so we have the best possible blood flow and hydration for the current, the microcurrent, to really work. So I said a little bit earlier, I am using a machine I have never gotten rid of. I'm using the Beautiful Image. And I do like it because I can time how long I hold it. And that was really specifically why I was doing it today, because I really want to hold some areas, especially when we get to the lift, about 3 minutes. And we don't tend to do that unless we either have a timer or not. But I know when I'm working on myself, unless I've got a machine that kind of tells me when to move, I tend to just go super fast. So I thought today it would be fun to show you kind of working microcurrent and using it for 3 minutes in the lifting area. We're also going to be working with the thumbs of the lift, some acupressure points. We look and we think about reflexology on the feet, but the face also has many different points that correlate all the way into the body. So you can think of, like, when the current is on these points, it's like a fiber optic network going down through our whole system. So we are doing almost, system stimulation. Someone, if this is of interest to you, that really knows a lot about this is Darren Starwin. And he created a machine called the Accutron, and that's specifically for acupuncture points. He does a lot of acupuncture with microcurrent and light. So he's a great person to kind of check out. So today I am also using a different gel. And this isn't specifically a microcurrent gel, so it's a little bit expensive, but I did a TV segment with this company called Avicina and really got to know the doctor. And she makes this microalgae B3 serum. And it's Ava Cena. You can find them on Instagram if it's something that you're curious about and you want to order it. What I love about it, it has niacin in it. It's a really clean gel. It's very conductive. Um, do it on yourself first before you would try it on clients because it does spice up like a niacin does. But again, we're promoting more blood flow. And it's just kind of an idea. I know most of the people on here are estheticians. You might find a bee serum and add it to your gel if it's conductive. So I'm going to start down here on the neck, and I'm going to kind of come up, putting it on my face, and we're going to start really with lymphatic and circulation. So we're waking up the skin. We've woken up the skin a lot with the Anma, but now we're going to add the electricity. And I love to kind of start down here on the décolleté, kind of warming all of this up. So I've got my lift. I've got it on my program that's more circulation. We're going to start right, right kind of at the sternum, right in between here. And we're just going to brush out slowly to the armpits. So we're just kind of moving it all the way across. And you can see I'm going pretty slow because I'm kind of waiting for the communication of electrons between the positive and the negative. And so I'm holding the probe vertically and I'm pressing out to my armpit. And I'm probably using a pressure of like a 2. So I'm really kind of moving that tissue all the way to my armpit. And we're going to do that again, kind of holding it and moving. So a pressure 2, I want you to press in like you're going against that bone. Okay. And now we're dragging the tissue across. And when we grip that tissue, we're not stretching skin. We're moving tissue because a lot of times people will ask, well, am I stretching this skin out? No, you're not, because we're going deep enough that we're actually moving the tissue along that décolleté. And this is just a really nice way to start clearing out, also kind of stretching that fascia. If you want, you can anchor with your other hand and kind of pull a resistance going across. And I always just choose like 3 times. 3 is easy to remember, and it's not too much that you can't go all the way in. And now I'm going to go to the other side, and I'm fairly low. So I would say my breasts, well, my breasts are low anyway because I'm old, but they're right above where the cleavage starts. So I'm kind of anchoring, and I'm going to go to the other side, pulling out. And it's a different sensation when we go a little bit slower. As I'm talking, I'm gonna release this grip. You guys keep holding on. But as I talk about the lift, what is so unique is this is perfectly spaced for optimal conductivity. And having them like little polka dots or little dotted lines, we really can choose how strong we want to make the current. And you can see this when we start working just 2 versus all 8 or 10. So it really gives you so much versatility that someone sent an email and asked, is this the only probe I use? And quite honestly, it is. To me, it's the most versatile. I can do so much with it. It simplifies microcurrent and increases just the efficiency of microcurrent, I think exponentially. So I know that because it's my idea, you know, I'm kind of boasting it, but I have to tell you, I used it a good year before I really came out and started to say, listen, I have tried a lot of stuff. This hands down is one of the best probes ever for microcurrent, whether you're a consumer or you're a um, professional. So we're going to kind of move up now on that tissue, but we're going to anchor at our clavicle, and it seems so counterintuitive, but we're going to actually go down. We're down because as our rib cage kind of tightens and we collapse into our core and we're working at a computer, everything is pulling forward and down, and we're really tightening all of the tissue in this deltoid area and in our rib cage. And every time we lift something, this lifts up and almost attaches to the clavicle. So we really want to open this up. And we're doing this because we're opening up for blood flow. We're opening up. If you can hyperextend, like camel in yoga is one of the best exercises for that platysma and a double chin. Anytime we can lean back and open up this. So we're really kind of taking the lift right underneath the clavicle and we're pulling down. And again, I'm using a good 2, 3. So we're just warming up circulation. But even though we're using the tool right now as a warm up and circulation, we're still getting the benefit of microcurrent. Microcurrent right now, what we're doing is we're really working on the skin. So that keratinocyte is getting that kind of action potential around the cell membrane. We're forcing that sodium potassium exchange. We're increasing the collagen and the elastin. We're warming up all of that tissue, and that makes such a big difference. So I'm coming down a little bit more, and one of you doesn't have their mute on, and I can't see who it is, but I'm going to mute you only so it's not disruptive. Okay, so I'm coming down and I'm kind of in the center, right where we get those wrinkles on between our chests. And this is, you can do this on your client too. You can just simply anchor and kind of warm her up. If you've taken one of my classes, you've probably gotten the heart in the past, or you can use a yoga block, opening up this thoracic area and then working the microcurrent going down. We're really hydrating and getting a lot of circulation into that tissue that doesn't always get it because we're closing it off, sitting at our computer, sitting behind the aesthetic bed. And now we can just really open all of this up. And take deep, deep belly breaths. And again, it's just relearning and training how to breathe through the belly, expanding that belly. You know, born in the 60s. We sucked in our stomach the 70s and the 80s. It took me so long to remember how to breathe in the belly and exercise that belly, breathing outwards and then exhaling, really bringing that stomach in towards the backbone. And we're going to come right to that side, coming down, and then we're going to go all the way back to the other side, just kind of opening up this area. For some of you, it may be a little painful because sometimes when the fascia is tight and dehydrated, it's like working a dry sponge. We're just like, you know, trying to manipulate and massage a dry sponge. So the microcurrent is creating a hydration for that spongy type of fascia. And we're just able to warm this up and create more of a pliability and a flexibility to this tissue. You know, I don't think I need to say that, you know, you should not be doing microcurrent with a pacemaker. So this is not something, that's probably one of the biggest contradictions, especially in working the décolleté area. And when you find that little tender spot, I may be continually moving, but I want you to kind of linger in that spot, and you can kind of turn, kind of rock that lift, kind of figure out like, how can I use this as a massage tool like the Anma, but getting, you know, increasing that benefit. And coming down and kind of finding that that area that's a little bit tight, or taking a deep breath, bringing oxygen to that point. Again, right underneath the clavicle, kind of stimulating the lymphatic duct, taking a deep breath, inhaling and exhaling through the body, bringing almost 600% more oxygen to the body when, in the area when we're breathing and releasing. And I'm going all the way over again, right underneath that clavicle, just kind of tilting my head, maybe to get a little bit extra stretch. We're going to bring in the tilting of the head as we start to work the neck area. So now that we've kind of got a deep kind of tissue, go ahead and just kind of brush all the way over, clearing out all of this area. And now we're going to take the four parts of the lift. So we've got the top two and then the first two in the row. We're going to just sandwich that clavicle, and we're going to hold for a second. And this is just a really nice lymph, stimulating kind of that lymph. You may find that you kind of cough. You know, you've got this area right in the clavicle area, and your first rib is in there. And sometimes because we're working behind our bed, or if you're working at a computer, you know, that fascia kind of adheres that first rib to that bone. And this creates a lot of congestion, and this is really oxygenating and stuff for the lungs as well. So when we can kind of stimulate this, we're opening up that lung passageway, strengthening our respiratory system. Now I'm just going to kind of take it all the way out. I'm going to do that about 3 times. So I'm kind of going all the way out, opening up this area. And I'm going to go one more time, going all the way out. And then when you're done with the side you're working on, we're going to go over to the opposite side. Again, kind of attaching. You can see I've got the top two of the lift over my clavicle bone, and I've got the bottom two. So I'm really sandwiching this little area, and I'm just going all the way out to the side. And this is just clearing away toxins and stagnant lymph. You can anchor if you feel like you want more of a drag. But by doing this, we start to open up all of this lymphatic pathway, getting it to move. So when we do go to the face, this is all cleared up, and you don't have that lymphy face when you're done working on yourself or you're working on your clients. So we're kind of coming out all the way. And now we're going to place the lift. I'm using all 4 for the most part. Maybe the 2 will touch, but they're really not. Starting right at the center, and I'm going to anchor, and I'm going to pull all the way out towards the neck. And again, I'm kind of dragging all the way, and I'm really just kind of working a nice lymphatic area in that neck, forcing that circulation, maintaining the adhesion of the skin to that neck area. It's so important to keep that circulation and that tissue hydrated, especially if your clients are in the 30s. It makes such a difference. Like, it's so hard sometimes to work an area you're not concerned about. Like, you know, through my 30s, I was more concerned about my jaw falling. So I didn't work my neck a lot, but I really wished I had kind of gone with the idea of prevention versus, you know, resuscitation. And I'm fortunate I'm not recessing too much of my neck, but I do have like that tissue that wants to kind of lose the adhesion. Now I'm going to come across to the other side. And again, I'm going all the way out to the sternocleidomastoid. And that's kind of that chunky muscle in the side of the neck. We can always kind of isolate it. It's a great thing. People love massaged in the treatment room. I'm going to go out all the way again, moving as slow as I can because we forget what's being deposited in the skin has to navigate the sternum corneum, has to, go through all of the different areas, and that's dependent upon hydration. And so we want to just hydrate the area with the current. We want to deposit those electrons where they're needed. We just kind of keep moving over and over and over to that sternocleidomastoid. And now we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to tilt our head back, and I'm going to anchor right underneath this jaw, and I'm going to drag down. And I am using, again, enough pressure that I can handle. You don't want to damage, but I am moving that tissue along that muscle. And this is such a great stretch. And I'm tilting back and a little to the right. So you find what that area is to you and what it feels like. And we're really going slow. I'm not even halfway. I'm like still kind of lingering at the top third of that area. And I'm really feeling the tension all in that area. And again, kind of imagine a tight sponge, a dried out sponge, and we're just trying to soften it up by manipulating it. And we're just kind of flexing it back and forth and adding little drops of water here and there. And then I'm going to stop right down the base of my collarbone. And I'm just simply leaving my neck in this position, resuming the probe position at the very top and dragging down. And this is not stretching the skin because we're moving the probe along the muscle at a very deep. So the skin is adhered to that muscle, and we're just pressing deep into that tissue, delivering vital electrons that help provide energy to the cell, metabolism to the cell, and lots of blood and oxygen to the tissues. Going down. And we're going to do this just one more time. Anchored right under the neck. So when we're doing this and we're spending the time stretching this out, we're actually lifting the mid face. So it seems like, gosh, Jane, I really want to get to the face, but we're building the foundation for the best lift in the face. So we're going again right underneath. You can anchor the tissue if you like. And we're going all the way down, nice and deep. And while you're doing this, don't forget to breathe, breathing out of the belly, sending oxygen to all of these locations, helping the body utilize the current in the best possible way it can, coming down to that clavicle, stretching that neck and holding. And let's go to the other side. So we're anchored right underneath. So I'm right underneath my jawbone. A lot of times if you have clients that have that mouth that goes down, it can be tongue placement because a lot of this is the tongue muscle, and it can be, a tight hyoid area. There's so much that goes into this. And this is why we have to really work everything to release the face to get it to its natural positioning. And I'm going to pull down. And for me, I really feel the tension in here. So I'm kind of lingering, and I'm giving that tissue all it needs to hydrate and release. I'm going down, turning the head slightly, finding where that restriction and that tension is. It's not the same for everybody, and it's not the same for you all the time. You might have slept wrong one day. So it's always going to be a little bit different. So feel and kind of seek those areas that seem tight or just ignored, not stretched. You may lift the chin up, turning the head, moving, kind of feeling all of that area coming down. You may also notice that one side was tighter than the other. Maybe it's just you favor that side, or there's just something there. And we're going to go back up, tilting that head back, pulling down. Tilting the head, going back. Feel where that tightness is. Linger the probe there a little bit longer. And let's go one more time. You can already start to notice probably a stronger jawline, better looking, cleaner. I know that the neurotris is cleared for the thyroid. Use your better judgment. When you feel that pull, let it stretch out. Take your time. I always say the more time you spend releasing the neck, the less time you have to spend lifting the face. Well, I don't always say that, but I do say it. Okay, so kind of in the same fashion, we're going to start to work lymphatics. So we're going to start, I love using the 4, and I kind of anchor that jawline. For me, I need to put on a little bit more gel or liquid because it has dried up by this point on my face. I can see in the reflection of the video that I've got a lot of great blood flow happening. And I'm going to just take these 4 and I'm going to just relax the muscles in my face. So I kind of want you just to relax. And now I just want you to drag. And we're just going to kind of drag all the way over to the masseter. Look at that. It's already 10 o'clock. I'm going to have to speed this up. We'll do this lymphatic or this kind of drag flow, and then we'll just do 15 minutes of a lift. So kind of coming out, going back over. And this is why it's so fun to do microcurrent with people, because you actually sit down and do it. If you were in your bathrooms, you would have left already. You would have found laundry to do or a phone call to make or something else. But microcurrent works when you do it. It really works. It is one of, I think, hands down over any beauty tool, invest in microcurrent. It works. It works time and time and time and time again. Fascia release works. It's just, some of the cosmetics and the injections are like a pill, right? It's easier just to take a pill or a shot than actually do the discipline of what it takes to be younger. I'm going to go over again. Breathing through the belly, lifting. Going across. We get lots of little toxins in here for this exact reason. We kind of work the neck out, right? We kind of release so much of that. We don't think about it, but the connective tissue fascia has a strength of 2,000 pounds per square inch. So if our head is off or we're leaning forward, this is an extra 42 pounds. Let's go to the other side that the body has to hold, and the fascia will adhere along the bony area. So you've got your clavicle, your jawbone, your cheekbones, and your brow. And this pulls everything forward. So this is why, it's truly a full body effort when we want to age naturally and gracefully, because our posture plays so much into how our head sits and the wrinkles that form on our face. Going. So just as we are sitting here, we're hitting an acupressure point. We're actually hitting another one over here. So as we kind of sit in these areas and we drag slowly, we're creating change universally. And going out to that mandible. And one last time. So we're going to do something. So I'm going to have you hold at the end of the mandible, but we're going to turn our unit clockwise, our lift, when we get out to that mandible. And we're going to kind of secure right behind that jawbone. Now, as we get older, a real sign of aging is that reverting, that jawline that just goes back. And a lot of times when women get facelifts, they end up getting a chin implant to rebalance the profile. But we can also just insert the lift at this hinge, and we're just relaxing that jaw, and we're bringing it forward. We're just going to hold. All right, now let's do the same one again. We're going to go out. We're kind of brushing. Actually, we're going to do it to the side. And in this case, we're going to turn the probe counterclockwise, going all the way out behind that jaw, turning the unit counterclockwise and pulling that jaw out. We're really getting in there. This can be a real tender space many times for people with TMJ, or really tight muscles in the jaw, grinders, over occlusions. Now we're going to take the unit, and we are using the current kind of horizontally. Now we're going to switch the current vertically. I'm going to go along that jawline. So basically we had hydrogen and hydroxyl kind of going this way. Now we're going to angle it, and we've got a different angle. So we've just got all of these electrons going around, and this gets you a better opportunity of reaching the skin cells and the muscles. Okay, going out to that mandible and holding. Now you're just going to pick up the two. You just have the two all the way out. And I love to get this area because this is a real area. Sometimes you can see it a little bit on me, how when the skin starts to get lax, this starts to fall. So I like to get into that area. And now just try it with two probes and see the difference that you have just using the two on the very tip. Now, all of the energy of the microcurrent is coming through just 2 points. and you don't even have the current doesn't have to travel because it's just literally traveling right to here. So it becomes a very pointed, strong way to assess the current. And I love doing this a lot of times in acupressure points. And we're going to do it one more time, kind of centering and dragging out. Going all the way. And up to that ear area. And let's do the other side. Kind of holding right in the center. Dragging out. It really helps too to kind of visualize that current going in, hydrating, making all of the changes. You know, I always kind of ask a client the first time they come in what their vision is on getting older. You know, so much times that's just, it's so influenced by how their parents aged that, you know, today to ask somebody, how do you want to age? And what is your vision? What do you want to look like at 60 and 70? And we have so many great role models now. I mean, a majority of my friends in their 60s are as stunning as they were when they were 40, and they haven't had surgery. You know, I think so much of it has to do with how do you expect to age? I mean, what are you willing to give up to look the way you want to look? And when you present this idea to a client, it's so much more received because it's hands the responsibility of aging back to the client. You know, they come to us and they want to look good, they want to feel good, but we don't go home and say, don't drink that Coca-Cola. Whoa, better hold off on those gummy bears, because all of what they do reflects on what we do. And so when we can ask them, how do you want to age? We can get them to participate in this aging kind of journey. Okay, so now we're going to go right to the center of these lips and we're going to hold. I got to put more gel on. And we're going to hold for about 2 minutes right in this area, okay? And you can do little circles. And now we're going to come all the way out to right under that cheekbone, like the Joker. We're just kind of making a Joker face right now. And we're going to hold right into these acupressure points. You can kind of move it. You don't have to move it. I think I get ADD, so I have to like do something. It's hard for me just to hold it. A little bit longer. And now what we're going to do is we're going to move clockwise one peg. I'm only working the two. You can see how that is. And now I'm going to move right underneath the eye. and we're hitting another acupressure point, and this really kind of sandwiches that zygomatic area, and we're just holding. You may even start to notice tiny little drainage in this area. This also is a digestive point. And this is why I love the lift. If you were working like normal probes, it's just kind of like you're having to switch around, are heavy, you're having to work two hands. You can work two probes at one time, or two lifts at the same time. But typically, what I show you in class is I've started to release fascia a lot of times with one hand as I'm working with the probe in the other. So now we're going to drag the probe towards the end of the eyebrow, kind of coming up and lifting, kind of right. And there's an acupressure point right at there and right in there. I made a dent in my face. And now set the fourth down. We've got four little probes right in that temple area, and we're holding. And now we're going to come up right at the corner of the brow and the other. So I really have it sandwiched, the brow sandwiched in between the two. So I've got a probe here and here, and now I'm lifting up, and I'm just really, I have like a pressure of probably a 3. It's a little bit uncomfortable because I am kind of pulling that fascia adhesions from that bone and really kind of lifting, and I'm focusing all on just the two right now. We will lay the probe down on the frontalis in a bit. And now we're going to lay down the probe. So I've got 4. I'm still lifting the brow. I just read a comment. Somebody said a lot of people have puffiness by the ear. Amy, that does happen quite a bit, especially with people that have neck lifts. It's a very common place for hematobas. It is where they place stitches, and a lot of clients don't listen to the doctor and not do something for 2 weeks. They feel good, so they start doing things, and this creates a scar tissue, and this is a lymphatic. So in class, you've taken the fascia class, you can really kind of release that fascia in this area. We can go over it later, kind of refresh you. Okay, so now let's go to the other side. We're holding right here at that lip again. And you can start to see, if you're looking at yourself as you're doing this, I can see that instead of looking so rectangular, my face is actually lifting back up. It's so worth doing microcurrent. Like, I don't want to like preach you guys not to get facelifts, but you never know with a facelift. There's so many, they're throwing around the deep plane facelifts like they're jelly beans, but you just don't realize the nerve damage that can happen. And here we have going to come up. We're holding right at the nose and the digestive line. We have the ability through responsibility and self-attention to age in this beautiful manner, and it's so soulful. It's not saying, don't get filler every now and then, or, don't, but there are products out now that nourish the fat cell. You really don't need to, you know, put something in or do the radio frequency, which, you know, the fat is so shallow, right at the end of that hair follicle, that when you're doing home use radio frequency, or you're doing, radio frequency, with a doctor, you're melting that fat. You're just exasperating aging. There's nothing, you get maybe that temporary result, but as you get to be in your late 50s, you don't have that fat reserve that you once had. And that's what really starts to make us look older. So we're holding a little bit more, and I'm going to anchor. I'm going to kind of turn to the pressure point, the acupressure point right underneath the eye in a couple seconds. And coming up right where that eye is. Still need a little bit more water. And we're holding, and we're just really kind of feeding the tissue and these certain points. This is really great for like congestion in this area, eye area. The one person I wouldn't do this on, if you're an esthetician and you're on, is people in their 80s have very translucent skin. It's almost like it has detached from that area and a fluid gets in there. You would want to use a very, very light current and a flowy current, but this movement is good for most people with healthy skin. Now I'm going to come all the way up to that eye area, and I'm holding. So the eye muscle is like a sphincter muscle, and it closes and comes in. So everything pulls down and closes, and then the bottom closes up. So whenever we can just open this up and feed current through the crow's feet, we're creating, just movement, a different opening in that tissue. And then, with what you've learned in the fascia release, we can really release some of that fascial memory of the closing and make a substantial difference in the crow's feet. And we're going to come around. We're going to put a corner of the brow on one side and a corner of the brow on the other. And we're just lifting in this area. Really feels good. It just feels like, oh, that's so nice. We even have sinuses in this realm kind of region. So it stimulates a lot. Now we're going to put down the 4, addressing that frontalis. And I love that we can choose how many probes are touching the tissue for the strength of the current. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to kind of re-put this gel on my face, and we're going to go over the mid face using the probe a little bit differently to kind of plump up that tissue. So I'm going to hold it vertically and place the probe just kind of right in the center. So I literally am able to work this lip, outside lip, the zygomatic, and the eye. He may now, right in this position, you can kind of feel the sinuses start draining possibly. You may feel congestion in your throat. Now we're going to move over to the side about halfway. And it's typical that you might lose connection of the bottom and you're really more focused on the three and the top. And now we're going to swoosh up into that temple area, lifting the side. And I've got all 8 probes on. I'm really more in the temple area and in part of the hairline. And let's go to the side again. We're going to start right in the center. And now moving out towards the face a little bit more. Holding. And when you're ready, we're going to take it all the way out, up to that temple area. And I've just really got all 8 as though I was just lifting the tissue. All right, so let's just kind of go to the side, kind of brushing everything all the way across. And going to the top, moving just stuff across. I always kind of like to finish just overall, pushing anything aside and down. So you can go wash your face and look gorgeous the rest of the day. So that was the lift with me. We'll see you in another 2 weeks.